The House will come to order. Prayer by the chaplain.
Thank you. Let us pray. God of grace, source of life, love that never runs out, we pause for a moment to center ourselves before we do the work of the people. We start with gratitude, giving thanks for simple gifts we receive, gifts we do not earn, the gift of each breath, the gift of our lives, the gifts of enjoyment and friendship, the gifts of care and love that hold us together, and many more gifts we often don't notice or remember. It's good for us to express our thanks in the midst of the mystery of life and while we do difficult work. We also give thanks for the privilege and responsibility that is ours as we serve and work in the Minnesota House. We bring to mind the faces of the people we serve, people who support us and the people who don't, people who look like us and people who don't, people whose lives are going smoothly and people who struggle each day for shelter, for food, for health, for hope, for a chance. May we do our work here today and in the weeks to come with a heart for the needs of Minnesotans. May our work improve lives. May our work build trust within the chamber and across the state. May our work help us see the ways we need one another, depend on one another, and share so many needs in common with each other as one people in the state we all call home. Amen.
The chaplain for today is Representative Todd Lippert from District 20B, Northfield, Minnesota, and Community Minister at Mayflower United Church of Christ, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing and recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk will take the roll. Members, please take your conversations off of the House floor into the alcoves or the retiring room so that we can conclude the roll call. Members? Will the chief clerk please call the names of the members who've not yet answered the quorum call?
Egbadje.
Present.
Egbadje, present. Bahner. Bahner, present. Bernardi. Bernardi. Doubt.
Present.
Doubt, present. Franzen, present. Grossel.
Present.
Grossel, present. Grunhagen.
Grunehagen, present.
Grunhagen, present. Hausman.
Hausman, present.
Hausman, present. Hewitt.
Hewitt, present.
Hewitt, present. Nelson N.
Nelson N. present.
Nelson N. present. Pearson.
Pearson, present.
Pearson, present. Sundin. Sundin, present. Thompson.
Thompson, present.
Thompson, present. Xiong J. Xiong J. Bernardi.
Present.
Bernardi, present. Xiong J. Xiong J.
The clerk will close the roll. A quorum is present. Members, please take your conversations off of the House floor into the alcoves or the retiring room or outside the chamber. The clerk will read the journal of the preceding day.
Journal of the House, 92nd Session, 2022, 86th day, St. Paul, Minnesota, Thursday, March 31st, 2022.
If there is no objection, further reading of the journal will be dispensed with, and the journal will be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Hearing no objection, the journal is approved as corrected by the chief clerk. Reports of standing committees and divisions. A copy of this order of business is online. If there is no objection, the reports will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the reports are adopted. Second reading of House files.
Second reading, House File number 1134.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 3605.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 3784.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 3834.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 4048.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 4141.
Second reading.
Second reading, House File 4441.
Second reading.
And second reading, House File 4661.
Second reading. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The chief clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction and first reading of House Files 4738 through 4756.
First reading, House Files 4,738 through 4,756. Messages from the Senate.
Madam Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which the amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File number 2819, an act relating to natural resources. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Hansen R. moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House File number 2819 and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Senate.
I recognize the author, Representative Hansen, who will explain the Senate amendments.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This is the Snowmobile trespass bill, and there were a minor change, a technical change on lines 1.17. The Senate removed a redundant use of the words trespass provisions when citing the statute because the statute had trespass provisions. So I move that we concur with the Senate provision and move this on its way.
Any discussion on the Senate amendments? There being no further discussion, all those in favor of adoption, the motion to concur with the Senate amendments, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its third reading as amended by the Senate.
Third reading, House File Number 2819, as amended by the Senate.
Third reading as amended by the Senate. Any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Members, please vote. Members, please vote. Will the chief clerk please call the names of the members who have not yet voted? And will members in the chamber please be quiet so that we can hear the members vote?
Egbadje.
Egbadje, vote.
Egbadje. Didn't quite get that one. Bernardi.
Bernardi, aye.
Bernardi, aye. Grossel.
Russell, no.
Grossel, no. Grunhagen.
Grunhagen, no.
Grunhagen, no. Hausman.
Houseman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Hewitt.
Hewitt, aye.
Hewitt, aye. Nelson, N.
Nelson and I.
Nelson, N, aye. Pearson.
Pearson, no.
Pearson, no. Thompson. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, aye. Egbadje.
Egbadje, aye.
Egbadje, aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 115 ayes and 19 nays, the bill is repassed as amended by the Senate and its title agreed to. The first bill on the calendar for the day is Senate File 2736. The clerk will report the bill.
Senate File number 2736, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to children, the first engrossment.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Feist, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill addresses a misalignment between state and federal law that harms at-risk juveniles who have been abused, abandoned, or neglected and brought into this country for, among other reasons, sex or labor trafficking. At its core, this bill conforms our state law with existing federal law. A federal law created Special Immigrant Juvenile Status, or SIJS, in 1990. SIJS was expanded under the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act of 2008 to protect these vulnerable children. The law makes certain juveniles eligible if they demonstrate that they were subjected to abuse, neglect, or abandonment, and it is not in their best interest to return to their home country. A state court order finding to this effect is necessary as part of the process. Under the federal law, a child is defined as under 21, but under state law, a child is defined as under 18 for purposes of the state court order required for the federal law as part of this SIJS process. This bill creates a guardianship for eligible at-risk youth through the age of 21, thereby ensuring full access to the requisite state court order under SIJS cases. This ensures that Minnesota is compliant with federal law on the age cutoff for eligibility. In committee, one testifier shared her story of becoming a guardian to Melvin, who said I could share his story today. A young man from Liberia whose journey to the United States was marked with neglect and an absence of parents or any real parental figure. When the boy became friends with the family's son through sports, he became a part of their family. They worked to obtain SIJS for him against the clock before he turned 18 and would have been aged out of eligibility. To quote the Guardian, when she came to the hospital after Melvin was injured in a wrestling match, she said, quote, "We hadn't realized until then exactly how alone he was. When the person he lived with didn't even come to get him out of the hospital, that's when we knew he was going to be our kid for the rest of his life. He was the missing piece in our family's puzzle." I have been gratified to work across the aisle to protect these uniquely vulnerable children and ensure that our systems of laws protects them from being preyed upon by malicious actors and by aligning state and federal law. I encourage members to vote green.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File number 2736.
Third reading. Discussion to the bill. The member from Candido High, Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Feist, for your work on fighting with trafficking. I do have some questions because I'm reading this bill at its face value, and to be quite honest, boy, is there feedback on this? I apologize. It's okay? It's echoing right here. So I do have some questions with just with the intentions to better understand this because I have some concerns. So if you're willing to, if she's willing to yield to a question.
She will yield. Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Representative Feist, the first question, I thank you for explaining the 18 to 21. So is this is conforming with the federal government, but does all of this that you have listed here already included for people under age 18 and this is just adding age 18 to 21? Or does this expand current state law in any way?
Representative Feist.
Yes, all of this already exists for children under the age of 18. We are not expanding anything for children over 18, between 18 and 21.
Representative Miller.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. So members, people that know my work around here, I very much believe in fighting on the trafficking issue. I've authored bills, I've defended other bills. Representative Pinto and I have worked on some things. So I really want you to understand my intent on this, but when I read the face of this bill, I have some concerns that could actually have some harm in the other direction. So that's the intention of a couple questions that I really just want to clear up. So would Representative Feist yield for a question?
She will yield. Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Feist, what are the safeguards in practical exercise of this for non-English speaking people that are 18 years old or 19 years old? Like, how can we ensure that they're getting the proper information? Before you answer that, members, my big concern is this dynamic of a guardian and the person who seeks a guardian. We don't know their relationships when they're coming forward with this. So what are the safeguards that are put in place for non-English speaking people seeking guardianship of someone?
Representative Feist.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Miller. So the bill language requires that the guardian be a reputable person. In addition, the bill actually puts the power in the hands of the juvenile. They are the petitioner to the court.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would she yield for one more question?
She will yield. Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Feist. In the dynamic, my experience has been in the dynamic of a pimp and a trafficked girl. I've heard stories from law enforcement to where, now this isn't the case of a woman, because with people under age 18, this doesn't happen anymore, but they get arrested, and it's actually their pimp that says, I'm their dad, and I'm picking them up from jail and bailing them out. The dynamic, members, of someone who's trafficked to their pimp is often a dynamic that is not rational, but it's also they look at them as their boyfriend, or they look at them as their father figure, they look at things like that. And under this bill, what are the dynamics that would prohibit the relationship of a trafficked 18-year-old girl and their pimp coming in and the pimp saying, I want guardianship, and she says, yes, I want him to be my guardian? What are the safeguards that are put in place for that?
Representative Feist.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So this process, again, it requires that the guardian be a reputable individual. It puts the power in the hands of the juvenile. We have wonderful court interpreters to make sure that they understand the process. And in the case of SIJS, generally these are represented individuals. It's not the type of process where you can just show up in court and have somebody say that you're guardian. It's actually a fairly complicated process. And so there are generally counsel involved in all of these cases.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you. No more questions, but I do appreciate your answers on that. Members, I'm torn with this because I understand the conformity aspect of this, and I can tell you that if our law for juveniles under the age of 18, this is how it applies, we've got problems with our laws in the state of Minnesota. And to say that the federal government, this is conforming with them, they have big problems at the federal level then, if this is what it is. It's very problematic. I just have to see if anyone else speaks, but there are some concerns that I have with this, but it's maybe something that we are certainly going to have to legislate in the future because there are gaping holes and problems. Well-intended with what this is doing, but I can tell you my experience in the trafficking world and particularly, this is probably not going to fix that problem. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Blue Earth, Representative Munson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would Representative Feist yield another question, please?
She will yield. Representative Munson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Feist, on line 4.25 and 4.26 of the bill, at least the one I have in front of me, it reads that it references whether it's in the best interest of at-risk juveniles to be returned to the at-risk juveniles or at-risk juveniles' parents' country or nationality, or country of nationality or last habitual residence. In the way that I read this provision is it sounds like if a 20-year-old person that was in this country was picked up, that they could then seek to be adopted or to place under the guardianship of someone as opposed to being deported to their country of origin. Is this, am I reading this correct, that we could determine that that person is at risk and seek to place them in guardianship at the age of 20 instead of deporting them back to their country of origin?
Representative Feist.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would make 2 points. First of all, we are not trying to make any new definitions under Minnesota state law. These definitions are set by federal law. And the definition for SIJS under federal law requires that the child demonstrate that they've been neglected, abandoned, or abused. And so in addition, they need to show that it would not be in their best interest to return to their home country. But the key aspect of this is that they must show that they are neglected, abandoned, or abused.
Representative Munson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Feist, for the answer. It's difficult as you keep on referencing child, and we're talking about a 20-year-old here who may have come here without parents, but it seems like we're greatly expanding provisions that were put in place for the protection of young children, and we're now applying it to adults, and in placing these young adults with guardians. I think there's a lot of this bill that is not well thought through, so I'll be voting against this bill today. But thank you for the clarification on that.
The member from Dakota, Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would Representative Munson yield for a question?
Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Munson, have you read this bill?
Representative Munson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Garofalo, we have read through this bill, yes. I have just read through it several times.
Representative Garofalo.
Madam Speaker, Representative Munson, we're dealing with neglected, abandoned, or abused individuals who went from the age of 17 to 18. That's what we're dealing with. This is not illegal immigration. This conforms with federal law. Are you aware that's what the substance of this bill is?
He will yield. Representative Munson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We're discussing the age of the children being expanded to the age of 20 under this bill. 21 years of age.
Representative Garofalo.
Right, because we want, Madam Speaker and members, because we want state law to conform with federal law when it comes to victims who are sexually trafficked, who are exploited and abandoned. It's embarrassing that we have adults on the House of the Representatives floor here in Minnesota making the case that these protections should not exist for 18 to 21-year-olds. What is this, romper room? Members, this is a very good bill. Representative Feist, thank you for bringing this bill forward. Thank you for recognizing there are individuals who are being exploited, who the only mistake they make is they happen to turn 18 and state law doesn't conform with federal law. Thank you for being an adult. Thank you for bringing this bill forward. Thank you to the members of the Senate for unanimously supporting this bill. Thank you to the members of the committee process for unanimously supporting the committee. I would hope that the adults in the Republican caucus are voting with Representative Feist and voting green on this bill. Thank you.
Further discussion on the bill. The member from Candy Yohai, Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And that little tirade, Representative Garofalo, was inappropriate. Madam Speaker, do I have the floor? Does Representative Dowd has the
Miller,
floor?
you have the floor.
Okay. Madam Speaker, I think there's no games being played here, folks. Madam Speaker, there's a member of this room who can, I don't know what the point of order is, but he keeps talking over me and makes side comments to me, and I wish that he would stop doing it.
Members, please take your conversations off of the House floor into the alcoves or the retiring room. Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's okay to question my veracity. I don't care, but I can tell you that my veracity is that I want to make sure this stuff on trafficking is correct. For me to stand up and say that I have concerns for this bill is not to play games, not to be a child, as one of the representatives made mention of. The point is to try and clarify these bills. Earlier today, Madam Speaker, in one of our committees, I was basically told this is, in effect, these bills are going to pass, and so stop asking questions that cause confusion. I think we need to have the freedom to ask the questions here on the floor. You can challenge us. I don't even care if you personally challenge my intent on that. But for me to ask questions about trafficking, my veracity is rock solid on this issue. I've been fighting for this since I came into office in 2015. So to have concerns with a bill, members, and to ask questions on that, Representative Feist and I have never had any reason to question each other except
Madam
for
Speaker,
to ask
point of order.
difficult questions.
Representative Koznick, please state your point of order.
Point of order under section 101, the debate must be confined to the question before the body. the speaker is rambling on about other personal motives or side conversations or something, and his remarks should be confined to the bill.
Representative Koznick, I'm going to decline to rule on that point of order. Representative Miller, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the point of this bill, there are questions that need to be asked with good intentions. That's what is being asked. And if someone chooses to come to the floor and challenge that, that's their prerogative as well. And the tone at which they do it, it is their prerogative. But after I hear that, I think it's fair for me, there's indirect statements directed at me, okay? And I just want to correct that. I think this bill is worthy of having conversations for the expressed purpose of what this bill is about to achieve. The fact that it's conformity, as I said, Madam Speaker, the fact that it's conformity makes sense. But conformity doesn't mean that it's going to fix the problems. And as I said, regardless of whether this moves forward or not, this is a time to pause, members, and say, we're going to have to fix a big problem here in the state of Minnesota, and this might fix some of it, but it's not going to fix all of it. The bill points itself to the problems that we are going to be seeing. I am telling you that I've heard story after story of pimps going in and saying, I'm their father, and the prostitute says, yeah, he's my father. Now we're adding a guardian to that. That's a concern of mine. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Ramsey, Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So members, for several years I served as the Director of Statewide Training and Protocol Development under the Safe Harbor System, which addresses juvenile exploitation and trafficking. So I definitely have expertise in this area, and I've worked a lot with Representative Miller, and I really do credit his intentions on this, and I want to assure him and Representative Munson and others, this is a very well thought out approach to keep vulnerable people safe. It is true that exploiters, the traffickers, can develop a certain relationship with the person that they're exploiting. I will say, however, we've done a lot of work as a society, as a state, to make sure that our courts and others are very aware of those dynamics. And if you look carefully at this bill, there is a series of processes and procedures and checks. If you get to the end of a process and a trafficker is being ordered as a guardian, I'm sorry, I just do not see that happening under this bill. And I will note that this is simply extending protections that right now exist for under 18 and recognizing that that exploitation can continue and the vulnerability continues. So I'm so grateful to Representative Feist for bringing this forward. I want to assure members this is absolutely a step that will keep vulnerable people safe in our state, and I urge a green vote. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further discussion to the bill. The member from Ramsey, Representative Moeller.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Feist, for bringing this bill. We're lucky to have your expertise in immigration law and Representative Pinto's expertise with human trafficking. And I just want to lift up the testimony that we heard in the Judiciary Committee about your bill. You mentioned the testimony of Melvin's mother. And Melvin's mother talked about how she encountered this child who was a friend of her son's, and the abuse that he experienced and how they were able to get in right before turning age 18. And really this bill just closes that loophole between the ages of 18 and 21. That's all it's doing. It's providing protections that we need to provide. And I'm really happy to put my support behind this bill, and I hope everybody can vote green. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any further discussion to the bill? The author of the bill, Representative Feist.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A few points. I agree that it is incredibly important to discuss these bills in depth, and I respect your expertise, Representative Miller, and I wish you had reached out to me earlier because we could have had these conversations. This bill was introduced right at the beginning of session, and I would have loved to have had these conversations. But as Representative Pinto and Representative Moeller have attested, this bill is a very well thought out bill. I helped draft it along with other immigration experts and family law experts, trafficking experts at the Advocates for Human Rights, and I'm really proud of it. I think it's a really good bill. The next point I would like to make is that there is a reason that under federal law, juveniles are eligible for SIJS until the age of 21, and that's because a lot of these children don't know that there is any issue with their immigration until they're older, until they're ready to go to college, until they're ready to get a job. And so it is really important that these older youth are able to get SIJS and until the age of 21, and that is why the federal government created SIJS and defines child as under 21. And lastly, I just want to emphasize that we are not expanding any rights under Minnesota law. We are simply conforming state law to federal law. And I would encourage members to vote green. Thank you.
The clerk will take the roll on the bill. I think you could print. Will the chief clerk please call the names of the members who've not yet voted?
Bernardi.
Aye.
Bernardi, aye. Grossel.
Aye.
Grossel, aye. Grunhagen.
Aye.
Grunhagen, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Nelson, N.
Aye.
Nelson, N, aye. Pearson.
Pearson, aye.
Pearson, aye. Quam. Quam, no. Thompson. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 132 ayes and 2 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 4065. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 4065, number 2 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to human services, the first engrossment.
I recognize the member from St. Louis, Representative Schultz, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House File 4065 is a simple recodification bill. We instructed the reviser to update the statute in the long-term care consultation services, and I do also have an amendment.
There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Schultz moves to amend House File number 4065, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A2.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Amendment A2 is just additional technical corrections from House Research. I also want to thank Daniel Pinelli for making the corrections and for working on the recod bill.
Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 4065, as amended.
Third reading as amended. Discussion to the bill. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill passed unanimously out of committee. I urge everyone to vote yes on the bill. Thank you.
Discussion to the bill. Any further discussion to the bill? The member from Meeker, Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would Representative Schultz yield for a question, please?
She will yield. Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, in a bill last year, there was a little confusion on cost. There's no cost to nursing homes in this, is there?
Representative Schultz.
This is a technical, thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a technical bill only. There are no fiscal or policy changes at all.
Any further discussion? The member from Polk, Representative Keel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would Representative Chair Schultz answer a question?
She will yield. Representative Keel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Schultz, so in this bill, there is no cuts at all to our nursing home like there was, 2 years ago? Is that what I understood you to say?
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a technical recodification bill. The staff have worked tirelessly to get this bill ready. I thank them for their time. This is only technical bill, has no fiscal or policy changes.
Representative Keel. Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Will the clerk please call the names of the members who've not yet voted?
Barr. Barr, aye. Bernardi.
Bernardi, aye.
Bernardi, aye. Drazkowski. Drazkowski, aye. Elkins.
Elkins, aye.
Elkins, aye. Frankie. Frankie. Grossel.
Grossel, aye.
Grossel, aye. Grunhagen.
Grunehagen, aye.
Grunhagen, aye. Hausman.
Houseman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Nelson N.
Nelson and I.
Nelson N, aye. O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll, aye. Pearson.
Pearson, aye.
Pearson, aye. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, aye. Frankie. Frankie.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 132 ayes and 1 no, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3620. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3620, number 3 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to labor and industry, the second engrossment.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3620.
Third reading. Representative Ecklund.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This is a non-controversial bill that was heard before the Housing and the Labor Committees and passed unanimously from both. It includes provisions from the Manufactured and Modular Home Association and Department of Labor and Industry. It does two things. It addresses Minnesota's shortage of licensed manufactured home installers. Currently, there are only about 70 installers, licensed installers, compared to just a little over 100 just a few years ago. It enables any of the state's 11,000 licensed residential building contractors to install, use manufactured homes after completing 3 hours of approved online or in-person education. The change will help free up existing licensed manufactured home installers who currently must complete all new and all used home installations by allowing them to focus on new home installations, which is required for new home warranty reasons under federal HUD code. Minnesota has 4 plants building new manufactured homes. All are running at capacity and dealing with the same supply chain and lumber shortages that site builders face, so helping to eliminate a delay in setting a new home on its foundation will help home buyers establish firm closing and occupancy dates. It also updates the Manufactured Home Building Code Notice of Compliance form, which is the state's mini-max code standard for selling used manufactured homes by allowing a home constructed after June 14th, 1976 to bear either a HUD label or HUD data plate as verification of its manufactured date. I'm glad to have carried this bill and hope we can continue finding innovative ways to address Minnesota's shortage of workforce housing and contractors. I ask you for a green vote on the bill. Thank you.
The member from Anoka, Representative Heinrich.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, out of all the bills we discussed in the Housing Committee this year, this bill will actually create more affordable housing. It will create more home options for Minnesotans. Instead of telling our home providers and affordable housing creators how to run their business, this bill will actually put roofs over heads. Thank you, Representative Ecklund, for bringing this bill forward. It's a good bill. Members, vote green. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any further discussion to the bill? The member from Anoka, Representative Barr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would Representative Ecklund yield for a question, please?
He will yield. Representative Barr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Ecklund, since I was not in the Housing Committee, could you just kind of give me a little background on what the current requirement is? Because this is establishing a 3-hour training class to be a licensed installer. So to be a licensed installer now, is this lowering the hurdle to be a licensed installer, or is it creating a new licensing thing?
Representative Ecklund.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Representative Barr. I don't think it's doing either. What it's doing is freeing up space so some of the other housing contractors in the state will also be able to install used modular homes.
Any further discussion to the bill? Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Members, please vote. Will the chief clerk please call the names of the members who have not yet voted?
Bernardi.
Bernardi, aye.
Bernardi, aye. Grossel.
Grossel, aye.
Grossel, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, aye.
Gruenhagen, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Nelson, N.
Nelson and I.
Nelson, N, aye. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 133 ayes and 1 nay, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3013. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3013, number 4 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to crime, the first engrossment.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3013.
Third reading. Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So members, House File 3013 is a bill that relates to the analysts who work for the Sentencing Guidelines Commission. This is the entity that makes recommendations regarding sentencing guidelines. There are a number of commissioners. They have a research director, and that person has 5 analysts who reports to that person. Typically, somebody in that role would be in what's called the classified service. They have protections for their job. We want to make sure that there's not politics interfering with that work. Because of an outdated provision in the original statute that established the Guidelines Commission, these 5 individuals are currently in the unclassified service, despite being eligible for public union membership. Members, it's very important that we have these 5 individuals provide great information up to the research director and the commissioners. What the bill does is to switch them from the unclassified service to the classified service, and it'll do right by these hardworking folks, so we can make sure they give the data and information that the folks working that they're working for can make good decisions based on. So, members, happy to have a discussion about this, and certainly would be happy to have your support.
Discussion to the bill. Any discussion to the bill? The clerk will take the roll on the bill. Will the chief clerk please call the names of the members who've not yet voted?
Bernardi.
Bernardi, aye.
Bernardi, aye. Grossel.
Grossel, no.
Grossel, no. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, no.
Gruenhagen, no. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Nelson, N.
Nelson and no.
Nelson, N. No. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 77 ayes and 57 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3296. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3296, number 5 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to motor vehicles with a second engrossment.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3296.
Third reading. I recognize the member from Hennepin, the author, Representative Youakim, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, before you today is House File 3296 that makes changes to the salvage title process for vehicles in Minnesota. This bill is a product of a lot of work done by many stakeholders and legislators over the course of the last several sessions. In last year's Transportation Omnibus Bill, a salvage title task force was created. Both myself and Representative Petersburg from the House and Senator Jasinski and Carlson were appointed from the Senate. We met as a working group 7 times during the interim. We received helpful input from stakeholders, direction from the Department of Public Safety, and the bill before you is the product of those meetings and conversations. In short, the core policy changes in the bill are to address title washing loopholes by requiring a salvage or prior salvage brand on all vehicles that are acquired by an insurance company as a total loss or that incur damages over 80% of the value threshold. Require written disclosure for vehicle brands, flooding, or other prior damage. Extend the title branding and disclosure requirements to commercial vehicles as well as motorcycles. The changes eliminate scenarios where a vehicle that is neither high value nor late model can end up with a clear title, as well as treat in-state and out-of-state vehicles in a consistent manner. The changes also require disclosures that will aid consumers as they navigate the purchasing damaged yet roadworthy vehicles. And more importantly, it ensures the agreement reached by the insurance industry and auto repair shops over the years related to high value and late model cars remains a viable definition for a salvage vehicle, while at the same time allowing for more clarity for cars that fall outside the agreement's measure. A wide range of changes throughout the bill involve readability, clarity, and flow for the statutes of title branding. They're based on suggestions and several discussions with the Department of Vehicle Services that include revising definitions, eliminating distinctions that are no longer necessary, and more clearly separating the brand requirements in sections of law. Brand provisions are further centralized as well. Madam Chair and members, I think everyone involved in the working group appreciated the complex nature of this area in law and know way more than we need to know about salvage titles. The working group did a great deal of work. I think the progress made to get this language will aid consumers and strengthen our statutes, making the system work better for all of us. You should have all received letters of support from legal aid and another letter of support that was just emailed to you, and I would ask for your support on the bill.
Discussion to the bill. Any discussion to the bill? The member from Wright, Representative Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Representative Chair Youakim. This is a very important bill. And thank you, Representative Petersburg. Definitely important. So, Madam Speaker, we have a lot of bills that we discuss here in committee on the floor, and this, Madam Speaker, is not a sexy bill, but it is very important. So back, the year was 1995. I was driving my 1988 Ford Taurus, and I was looking down at the radio too long, changing the station, and I rear-ended somebody. And I totaled my Ford Taurus that I had paid $4,400 for. That was a lot of money back in the mid-90s, by the way. It's a lot of money today, but a lot of money back then. And that led me into a series of events where I got into the salvage title industry, I guess you would say. And since that time, I have bought and sold over 24 salvage title vehicles, and I presently own 3 salvage title vehicles. So this is a great deal of importance to me. One of the things that I have learned over the years on this, Madam Speaker, not all salvage titles are equal. Not all salvage titles are equal. And one of the things that I've always been seeking to do is to increase that visibility, to empower consumers to the past of their vehicle. And this is a very complicated law. When we begin to pull on that thread, a lot of unintended consequences come through. That's why this working group, with all the stakeholders at the table, with the multitude of variables that are at play, helped to write this important bill to make changes and updates to protect Minnesotans. Now, I don't think this goes to everything that I'm looking for or that may need to happen, but again, it's very complicated when you begin to tinker with the salvage title law. So nevertheless, Madam Speaker, thank you again, Chair Youakim, and everybody else who was involved in this chamber and outside of this chamber, just for the purpose of empowering Minnesotans with as much information on a vehicle's history before they spend that money. So thank you again. Look forward to your green vote.
Further discussion to the bill. The member from Hennepin, Representative Hornstein. The member from Waseca, Representative Petersburg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As Representative Youakim said, this has been worked on for a long time. Actually, I've been working on it for, I think, 5 or 6 years. And my real premise behind working for this is trying to get full disclosure for individuals who are getting vehicles that have been totaled. And there's nothing wrong with buying a totaled vehicle. And matter of fact, sometimes it's not a big deal. But the point is that I think for consumers, everyone needs to know that up front. And so this bill has been working through its process, and we had a very good bipartisan task force working on it all summer long to try to come up with a way in which we can actually help with that disclosure. So in my view, this bill actually does 2 primary things. One is that it helps with some of the washing of titles that has occurred from out of state of Minnesota coming into Minnesota, so people actually get some notification of what's going on, as well as full disclosure for those vehicles that were less than $9,000 and more than 6 years old, which was the previous parameters. So I believe this is a good bill. I really believe it's good for the consumers. I would ask you all to support the bill, and thank you, Representative Youakim, for bringing it forward. Thank you.
The member from Wright, Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If Representative Lucero would yield for a question.
He will yield. Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Lucero, since you have some expertise in the salvage title industry in your arena, is that where you got your appreciation for your salvaged suits?
Representative Lucero.
You know, that's an excellent point, Madam Speaker and Representative McDonald. You may not know it, but you're looking at one cheap, can't even say the word, person here, which is me. And I don't know why I find really cheap vehicles, but when it comes to clothes, I find my best deals when the clearance rack goes on sale, and I can't for the life of me understand why such phenomenal outfits are there for the picking.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Hornstein.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, and back to the bill. I just wanted to thank Representative Youakim and Representative Petersburg and everyone who worked on this. This was a result of a task force that we formed in the omnibus bill in 2021 last year. This has been a matter of contention for many, many years. And so I really applaud this task force for working hard and figuring this out. And I would encourage a green vote on this legislation. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Hertas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to confirm to the body and the members that Representative Lucero has the types of coats that he has because nobody else will buy them. And that's why they're cheap.
Any further discussion to House File 3296? The author of the bill, Representative Youakim.
Members, this is a good bill. The language will aid consumers and strengthen our statutes, making the system work better for all of us. Please vote yes.
The clerk will take the roll on the bill. Members, please vote. Will the Chief Clerk please call the names of the members who've not yet voted?
Bernardi.
Bernardi, aye.
Bernardi, aye. Christensen.
Christensen, aye.
Christensen, aye. Grossel.
Grossel, aye.
Grossel, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, aye.
Gruenhagen, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Nelson, N.
Nelson and I.
Nelson, N, aye. Thompson.
Thompson, yes.
Thompson, aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Notification yet.
There being 134 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3989. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3989, number 6 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to health, the first engrossment.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, the author, Representative Bahner, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Back in 2020, we updated the Practice Act for physician's assistants. Specifically, the law modified how PAs were supervised. These changes were a great success and provided over 10 million patient encounters by PAs since its passage. We're grateful for the hard work of the PAs and the exceptional work that they do. However, the bill before you does not alter a change in the scope of practice, how they are supervised, how they are educated. Rather, it is a purely technical bill that completes the unfinished business of cleaning up language for consistency with the original PA bill. It is also similar in nature to the APRN bill from a few years ago, as you may recall. Specifically, the bill updates 168 cross-references that require updating within the statute that regulates the practice of medicine and the practice of pharmacy. It adds the words physician assistant and physician assistant throughout. In addition, it updates 4 references, changing the language from certified nurse practitioner to the term APRN, which is the more modern and preferred term of advanced practice registered nurse, that were not caught in the original bill. Lastly, it updates 2 PA references and clarifies 1 caught by NAMI for greater accuracy and clarity, and 1 clarification by House staff. The bill is supported by the Minnesota Academy of Physician Assistants, by the APRN Coalition. It has been reviewed by the MMA, the Board of Medicine, the Board of Pharmacy, and NAMI. Members, I ask for a green vote.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 3989.
Third reading. The member from Traverse, Representative Bahner.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker and members. As EMT, generally over the last 3-4 years, when we bring our patients to the hospital, just like last Thursday night, I had an ambulance run, brought them to Sisseton, South Dakota. Most of the docs are on call in Greater Minnesota are physician's assistants or nurse practitioners. So this is a good bill. It just allows people to serve better in Greater Minnesota without all these kind of clunkiness. So I would ask for your support. Thank you, members.
Any further discussion to the bill? Hearing none, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Okay. Go ahead. Will the clerk please call the names of the members who have not yet voted?
Bernardi. Bernardi. Grossel.
Grossel, aye.
Grossel, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, aye.
Gruenhagen, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Nelson, N.
Nelson and I.
Nelson, N, aye. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, aye. Bernardi.
Bernardi, aye.
Bernardi, aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 134 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. The last bill on the calendar for the day is House File 1442. The clerk will report the bill.
House File Number 1442, number 7 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to the military.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, the author, Representative Xiong.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
This proposal updates the Minnesota Code of Military Justice and related statutes to better reflect recent changes to corresponding federal law and to remediate potential weaknesses in our existing court-martial process. It modifies the Minnesota Code of Military Justice, where under certain conditions, military attorneys who are not members of the Minnesota Bar are able to perform limited legal duties under the supervision of the Minnesota National Guard staff judge advocate. It clarifies the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, showing that they are the proper investigative authority for military-specific crimes. It clarifies the process for the appeals of the court-martial verdicts and to better align verbiage with the Minnesota Code, with broader Minnesota law and the statutes of limitations and penalties.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Xiong T moves to amend House File Number 1442. The amendment is coded A2.
Representative Xiong, to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The amendment here is to remove Section 1 and Section 2, some of the data access provisions, and to better align this bill with the Senate file, and to move the 2 data practices provisions were taken out after hearing concerns from the Newspaper Association and working with the Department of Military Affairs.
Any discussion to the amendment? The member from Anoka, Representative Raleigh.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and to the author. I appreciate you bringing this forward. Members, what I want to talk to you about is the Uniform Code of Military Justice and why this bill is important and the conformity that it will provide for Minnesota and our soldiers, airmen, and others that are serving in uniform. There's a special relationship that happens in the military, and when you're first inducted, either through basic training or you become a commissioned officer, you receive courses and classes on the UCMJ. And one of the things that they really talk about is the fact that the UCMJ protects the soldiers and airmen because there are certain things that just don't exist in the civilian world. For example, if somebody falls asleep on the job here in the House of Representatives, so to speak, really nothing bad will happen except maybe missing a vote. In the military, if somebody falls asleep, this can be considered dereliction of duty. It is seen as a completely different type of an event because people's lives are on the line. So as we take a look at conformity with the Minnesota Code of Military Justice and the UCMJ, which is the Uniform Code of Military Justice, getting them aligned together is very important. So I'll pick one aspect, and to the author, thank you for highlighting this. Military adjutant generals and the lawyers that represent the soldiers and airmen have the ability to argue for the military side of the UCMJ or the Minnesota Code of Military Justice side and don't have to be admitted to the bar because it is a purely military side of the argument and the rules of the military apply separately from the civilian court. So, Madam Speaker, and to the members, I've reviewed this. I think this is a really good bill, and I would encourage a green vote. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any further discussion on the Xiong amendment? The amendment. Representative Detmer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And again, Representative Xiong, and also the comments made by Representative Raleigh. This is on the amendment, isn't it? Okay. I'll make my comments now. But yeah, this is a good bill. Let's get this bill amended so it follows what we want to do with the federal USMGA. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion to the amendment, all those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 1442, as amended.
Third reading as amended. Discussion to the bill. Any further discussion to the bill? The member from Kuchiching is on my list. Did you want to speak to the bill? No. All right. The author, the member from Ramsey, Representative Xiong.
Thank you, members. It's a good update, and I'd like to thank Representative Raleigh, Representative Detmer, and please pass the bill. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Will the clerk please call the names of the members who've not yet voted?
Bernardi.
Bernardi, aye.
Bernardi, aye. Grossel.
Grossel, aye.
Grossel, aye. Gruenhagen.
Gruenhagen, aye.
Gruenhagen, aye. Hassan. Hassan. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Nelson N.
Nelson and I.
Nelson N, aye. Thompson.
Thompson, aye.
Thompson, aye. Hassan. Hassan.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 133 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail. Announcements. Representative Herr.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 12:10 p.m. Thursday, April 7th, 2022.
Representative Herr moves when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 12:10 p.m. Thursday, April 7th, 2022. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Herr.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Herr moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 12:10 Thursday, April 7th, 2022.